So as always, My Hero Academia comes and goes, and it still is on the right track. It's actually really interesting how they've been structuring the My Hero Academia seasons, because when you get introduced to this world in Season 1, there's a lot of characters, and honestly my assumption was maybe 5 at best would get their time to shine and feel important. And it seems like with each season, of course we're going to have our central characters that are always going to be in the spotlight. However, each season will dedicate the time, the focus, the energy into different characters who were just side additions in prior seasons and make them the main character in this season. And I do appreciate that, because if you're gonna have a cast as large as this, at least make every character relevant for at least a single arc, even if that arc is going to be short. And it's nice to see some characters who have been more in the back burner, not really focused on too much, and getting to see not only amazing animation when they go just absolute demonic with their almost villainous looking power, but act so heroic, and just, it really does bring a smile to your face. And something that I've been really enjoying about Season 4 of My Hero Academia is something that I didn't think I would like as much as I currently am, but the whole idea, previous season, you had some characters not do too well and have to do makeup tests, things like that. So when everyone else is going to, their internships, things like that, others have to stay behind. And the fact that it happened to Bakugo, of all people, I thought it would be related to Deku. He would do well and he would get hot-headed. That rivalry, we all come to know and love it, or maybe you don't like it. I personally really do. And I was like, yeah, that's going to be a fun little gimmick throughout this season. I wasn't expecting him to feel so tsundere towards all the characters. In this episode, it was really great for that. I believe it's after the credits when he just starts getting super glum about how everyone's getting inside the papers there. And it's just like, there's no reason for me to enjoy that little moment so much, but I do appreciate seeing my boy Bakugo just sulking in the corner, or just being like, everyone's getting popular besides me. God damn it. It's just, I love that type of stuff. It's a little humor, especially to tie us over, because the season's gonna get dark. I mean, they introduce basically darts that are taking away abilities. Like, that's not gonna go over too well. So you gotta appreciate the simpler moments when you do have them. But I will say, this episode kicked off in a pretty amazing fashion. They didn't have to go all out with those villains fighting, but they did, and it looked amazing. I mean, the main focus, of course, was more on the whole Red Riot situation, which was pretty badass, but it was nice to see some of the other heroes getting their time to shine. We're getting the gravity powers, we're getting the frog powers, they're kicking ass, taking names, and you're seeing just the different heroes and whatnot, and just they're being badasses, and you can tell they're gonna have their chance to shine. And I really like just seeing the destructive aura, but also the heroic present that it brought. Like, it really kicked off the episode to set the stage of what this episode is going to represent. There'd be villains on the loose, and then the person that everyone was mentoring under would basically come in, wrap up the day, but also let the students have their time to inspire people, being like, look, these are going to be heroes in the future that we're going to be able to rely on. And it was really nice seeing that, especially how it then transitions to our boy Red Riot, and just, I love the powers here. We got the whole manifest ability, and then of course we have the hardening ability. And, the more My Hero Academia I watch, and the more characters they throw in my face, the easier it is to call them by their hero name. It's just so much easier to remember things like Sun Eater or Red Riot. It's just way easier for me to remember, at least until I get a few episodes where they're on screen for more than 2 seconds and I don't have to remember their name. But their abilities really shone this episode. I mean, the whole idea that someone could basically turn their limbs into basically something that resembles what they consume. Honestly, one of the most unlimited amount of possibilities I think My Hero Academia has had in terms of an ability. Like, the personality of the character is great, we will touch upon him, but the idea that, he could have an octopus arm, a chicken leg, it's like, there's so many mixes and matches of what someone consumes in a day, and I'm really interested, not even just for, like, the powers that he could do, but I'm really curious about the limitations. Because, like, what happens if you eat, like, an animal that, I don't know, like, what if you only ate a bunny for that day? Would you just be, like, really fast or something? Like, there's so many ways that ability, I feel like, could go totally wrong. But granted, in this situation, even though he kind of looked demonic, he was a total badass when it did kick off, and I really like that, especially seen by how he's one of the best students, and just everything is just, he's so shy. He feels like, the person he's mentoring under is just always insulting him. The new kid's getting way more, like, better treatment. It's like, you just immediately felt bad for the dude, and I love that. It was such an adorable moment, and I didn't know I wanted something like that, but I'm really glad we did. Especially because, like, the person they're basically spotting under is like this man who can just absorb everything. The dude just eats everything in his sight, but then like if a guy with a bunch of blades on his head kind of come charging in, even if he's launching all these attacks, he can just absorb the impact. So even though he looks a little funny, you can definitely see how he could be a valuable hero in just the modern day and age, because if someone is like an explosive user, suck that bastard up and just basically absorb the explosion. I think most people are going to be hyping up this episode specifically for what we just saw with our boy Red Riot, and that was amazing. I have to say, like, the whole ability was always something that was solid. I mean, the idea of hardening your body being basically a good defense, like, how isn't that going to be a decent power for the world of heroes and villains? Obviously, it's nothing that people are going to immediately latch onto from season 1 and be like, that's the best ability right here. However, you can do some crazy things with that, and I like the idea of simplicity here, because we're seeing one of the most creative powers. Basically, whatever you eat, you can basically take that attribute and turn your body into something resembling that. Like, how much craziness could that be? Like, that is insane to think about, and then you have a character who just hardens his body, and there's a simplistic beauty to this ability. I really like the idea of being this, like, you can't break down the fortress. You gotta be this wall that will protect people, and there's something so beautiful about seeing him use, like, this special move that he's designed for his ability. I think he mentions he can only use it for, like, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, so it's not, like, a super long-lasting thing, which, as of right now, is probably a good thing, because that defense is insane, and just watching this man get progressively more and more pissed off because he's scared, he's worried, and then he kind of goes into a rampage as these blades just go absolutely wild, because it starts off pretty tame, but then he uses this enhancement drug that makes his ability go wild. And I love seeing how you have people in the background just in terror because those blades will easily cut off their head. And then you just have the back facing them of just this schoolboy, but he's blocking every single attack and not going down. And the animation, the Saki, like, that was gorgeous. One of my favorite scenes in quite some time of My Hero Academia, just beautiful animation. A man basically just standing still, getting hit by blades coming from every which angle, and then just the buildup. He looked like a villain, honestly. He looked like a villain, but he was so heroic, and I thought it was so inspiring to see people basically ask him, what's your hero name? I'm going to keep my eyes out for you, because your first day on the job, it could have easily went horrible, and for a lot of heroes, it seems like it does. But then you got a moment where you got to protect people. You knew if you back down, these people were going to die. You can't wait for help. And those are the moments I really like, because it's so easy to watch a show like My Hero Academia and say, oh, it'd be so cool to be a superhero. But there's moments that legitimately would terrify me. And even though this wasn't a terrifying scene, compared to the atmosphere, and I mean compared to last week, that's horrifying. But I did put myself in his shoes, and I thought to myself, even if I had this ability to harden myself, right, and I wouldn't get hurt, I would be scared. A man with knives and blades coming off every which angle, like, if it hits the wrong spot, you're easily going to die and bleed out. It's such a terrifying image. Basically, some schoolboy didn't back down and charged head first and was able to save the civilians, and thanks to the person that he was mentoring under, was able to capture him. Like, that's amazing. If that man would have went to the streets, how many people would have been severely injured, if not killed, as blades go every which angle? Like, that's amazing, and I love the simplistic beauty, and it's super easy to look at either this, like, super hardening ability or the idea of manifesting food and just other objects, and, you know, throughout the day, whatever you consume, you can start turning your body into that, and you can say that's ridiculous, and it is, but something that My Hero Academia has been doing really well is this idea of nature. And what I mean is, like, you can look at nature, and it's such a beautiful and vast thing, but there's literally, like, toads, if you touch them, you're gonna get poisoned and die, right? There's, like, insane defenses, insane mechanisms that just naturally animals and wildlife in general build up over their years. So the idea that you have heroes who have abilities that you think, okay, this is just too overpowered right now, humans naturally have found ways to counter that, right? So there's always going to be a hero, there's always going to be a villain, there's always going to be a shortcoming with their own power that will make something that appears OP not OP 24/7. But of course, that doesn't mean they can't be a badass multiple points throughout an episode or arc. And that's what I really liked about this episode, is we weren't even focusing on any of my favorite characters, but I had a blast. I was like, this is My Hero Academia, showing you that no character, as of right now, because the story's ongoing, is going to be left just as that side edition. They're gonna eventually have their arc to shine. This episode was a blast, and we even get a little snippet of Overhaul and Shigaraki, and that was amazing. Granted, it wasn't as intense as their first introduction of this season, but the idea that you just have this big dick energy going on from Overhaul, right? He is not even sweating bullets. His minions are trying to attack Shigaraki, and he's basically just trying to pull off his own big dick energy, slapping his feet on the table, even though he knows he's supposed to put his feet on the floor. And just the idea that apparently they don't want to work together as like, you're going to be above me, I'll be below you, or vice versa. No, we're going to have more of a neutral playing field. Some of your ideas align with mine, and I don't know what the end result of that conversation was, but that was pretty intimidating. Like, I thought Overhaul immediately just had this made, and then Shigaraki comes in. He's like, nope, I'm not just going to give you what you want, but I might make concessions because it seems like we're kind of in the same idea here. It's like, that's super fun. I love how I don't know where the villain storyline is actually going. Amazing episode, honestly. I didn't think I was going to enjoy this episode as much as I did, as I wasn't seeing a lot of my fan favorites, but the episode kicks off exhilarating, and it ends just on an equally entertaining note. This was a great episode. I think many manga readers are probably going to be jumping for joy seeing how good the production is for this season. What did everyone feel? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you did enjoy, be sure to drop a like and also hit that subscribe button if you have been new. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.